Alrighty guys, let's go on a little tour. So if you don't know what the Summit base was meant to be, it is meant to be a competitor to the basic 2x2 H-Dune shell, or whatever you want to call it. This, however, is an expanded version of our original Summit design. This one has optional external TCs, a full compound, obviously all optional, but it's meant to be placed on top of some super high hill or an iceberg or something that you just need a really defendable base in that kind of area. It's also meant to be simple with an absolute crap load of peaks. And yeah, so starting at one of these 4 externals. Now these guys are optional, you don't have to do a compound. I'll also show you a few different versions of compounds, but they're extremely cheap. They're really just anti-grief for your base to make sure they can't replace a new TC. 500, 500, and obviously basic disconnectables. Placing one piece of twig like this will disconnect them. And obviously you do that on all sides, and you go from there. Going into these guys, these are our gatehouses. They're a little weird, but they do offer the peaks that we're looking for. These Patricos into compound. Now I don't even have the large furnaces placed right now, as kind of just want to show off what it is without it and how the space kind of works for itself. And we have some basic turrets below. Yeah, very basic, as the compound isn't even really needed to make this thing good. But we have 4 entrances into base, as you can kind of see. This is one side. Going around, we do have peaks on the entire outside. You can kind of see where those Patricos look to. We'll go in this entrance, why not? And now these doors are going to be a little bugged throughout this. I do apologize. Coming into here, it is pretty basic. We have bedrooms on each corner. It is all symmetrical. And then we have those peaks. Brutalist peaks are great here. And these peaks as well also are very tight angles. Very good for shooting through. You can see above that we have inner peaks from up there, and we have an auto turret on each side watching it, along with an oil refinery, some spots for boxes, all that kind of stuff. And we're gonna run around here until we find our main entrance. And here we are. I put an armored door down here, by the way. It's the best spot for either a double door or a double armored door. It's the most efficient spot to put in the base. But jumping up into here, we have our second floor. I've done 2 loot rooms here for early drop storage, and your electric furnaces. Going down is to our core, and up is to where our tier 3 and crafting area is. We have this nice little vaulted loot room. This is really funny, as you can kind of just throw a glass window on this. And I don't know, it's just an extra additional way for me to honeycomb our TC from above. So it's kind of a cool way to do it, and I like it. But coming down here, it is a staircase with a shotgun trap, watching very nicely from there. As you can see, that is a very nasty one. And now I've just done bags down here, along with a ton of furnaces, ton of box space, and an easily accessible TC. This is your main TC upkeep. Be aware I am on Sanctuary right now, so this is a little bugged. Some of the deployables get double added, so this will be a little cheaper on your end. And remember, this is with the maximum amount of doors that I'd ever throw in this base. This is more than I'd ever do, if I'm being completely honest. And I did the minimum needed HQM upgrades here for efficiency, so you can always go crazy on that. Okay. You can also, if you don't like the stairs, switch it out for a normal jump up. I just like this funny way of doing it. Going up to our 3rd floor is where our batteries are. You spam bags or beds throughout this floor. You have a battery on each corner here and here. Nice and separated by a garage door path, so they are annoying to reach, which is perfect for your turrets. I also have a little retake. If they are top downing you, you can hold from further back here, and it will be a one-way if you're this far away. If you're holding here, they will be able to see you from there possibly. But we also have another 2 loot rooms up here, along with a vending machine for flexing, or just storage for next to your tier 3 for crafting. It's up to you. Then going up to our next floor, I also continue with the mixing tables and lockers there. Just a bedroom retake floor, we'll call it, that leads out into our inner peaks. I put beds and barrels here that make great use for these peaks. These are amazing little head glitch type peaks. They are nasty. I also have those 4 beds, and then shotgun traps here, holding your crossover like this, along with 2 auto turrets, 1 on either side, to hold the entire area in. You can also notice that there are retakes kind of from above here. If you are in these upper areas, they double as retakes into here. mainly from one side, but they are your roof peak ups from any side. So if you ever have guys on a roof, you can have one guy go to each of these doors, swing up, and start playing the game. They also double as our way onto shooting floor and our retakes for thus shooting floor. They can also be some far angles, but they're mainly for holding your shooting floor like this. A shotgun drag protects the drop, the simple drop. And then coming up here, we have a full 360 door peak shooting floor. The one thing that I didn't particularly like about the old version of the space is I felt as if it lacked full 360 angles. This just makes up for it. The way this is done, it's simple and it's actually doubling up due to all the random peaks like throughout, like these lower guys down here and these guys and all that stuff. It's making it so we can double up and just have a basic shooting floor for taking heli, but also just simple angles for retakes. Along with this, I have 2 bedrooms on this floor. Just 2 higher up shooting floor bedrooms. And I have spam barrels, but there are alternate ways to do this. And then continuing through here, 2 sides are also our exits. And of course, if you want these bedrooms to exit out into the roof, you can do that as well. I prefer them going to shooting floor. Now there's 4 turrets watching our roof, 2 up in these upper raised pods with windmills above them. You can also turn these into don't raid me's, and then 2 lower as some basic throw them up quickly turrets, along with another set of brutalist peaks here on the roof and some side angles, just more peaks. And that's only on 2 sides, as the other sides I want to either A, you can turn this into a bedroom here, or I like them for higher up fob angles. They've come in very handy peaks like that. So yeah, that about does it for the base. If you guys have any other questions, comments, or concerns, please leave a comment down in the comment section down below or join the Discord. I am more than happy to answer any questions you may have about the base or whatnot, building questions in general. So yeah, without further ado guys, let's get into a build. Alrighty lads, before we actually build the base, I know some people like to see the footprint beforehand so they can kind of space it out on their own builds. So here it is. Obviously we have the inner 2x2 honeycomb here with the entire shell being around like this. And then these are for our gatehouses and externals. Remember, these aren't needed. You can just build the entirety of the main base and you'll be fine. Alrighty, so let's start off here. Be aware I'll use a little bit of symmetry, build grade, and stuff of that manner to speed up the build, and to not confuse anyone, I'll take my time and really show things off. So, starting off with our basic 2x2 starter. If you'd like to change this to any other 2x2 starter, you're more than welcome to, but for now, we're going to use my variation that I like. And, of course, I'm building in a higher graded way, you'll be using stone. I like my TC in this right corner, and then placing boxes like so. And if you are on PC and you have access to barrels, before I even put a shelf down, I'm usually just placing 2 barrels like this so I can kind of walk around and my life is made easy. And now this entire back wall is going to be the place for my furnaces. My tier 2. And then continuing that trend. Now I'll add another double door here early game and then garage door this off, along with putting some initial sleeping bags. Alrighty. Continuing on, what we're going to do, I'll temporarily remove this double door just so you can see it better. Gonna wall in this next section and use a U-shaped stair. The reason I use stairs here as, I mean, it's a little different, but I like it. Something to note as well before here, let's make sure we add in our shelf for our TC. So if you are using stairs, you gotta add that shelf in first, as you can't place anything off this. But if you are just doing a floor, you can do that there. Coming through, we're gonna keep expanding. A double door will go here, and this entire section will get sealed in. Like this. It's super weird the way it looks now, but I'll also continue expanding it up one more level, as this is a little vaulted loot room that's acting as honeycomb for our TC. Down here, we're gonna make our entrance. I'll also go ahead and just place the prep for the honeycomb on every side right now. This here will be a jump up side. So what I usually like to do, I'm just gonna honeycomb this guy in. Place a double door here. I personally just use a furnace jump up. If you'd like to do something different for this section, you're more than welcome to. And continuing sealing this guy off. Boom, boom, boom. Now I gotta make the honeycomb on these two sides. You only need one wall in here like this. On either or side like this. Honeycombing the TC in and offsetting it just slightly. Coming around like this. And then filling in this honeycomb for the second level. Same with this section as well, filling in that honeycomb. Obviously make sure to add a double door here for the roof. If you have an embrasure here, just so it's hard for someone to hold down. I'll come inside now and add this loot room. I'm gonna place a temporary twig floor here and to get a floor triangle through the wall to be able to replace this guy. And before I seal this guy in with the window, I like to upgrade this wall and this wall sheet metal, and then you can go ahead and seal it in. Coming over here, this twig triangle doesn't really matter, but I actually like to upgrade it and keep it upgraded, as it is an easier way to replace this triangle if it ever is to get broken. And now this will become a loot room. You can upgrade these triangles now as well if you'd like. Place our 4 box loot rooms. Same with this side. This can be honeycomb if necessary or if desired. Rather just a little extra piece. And I can upgrade those little tiles below, placing my boxes. Obviously, you can fit more boxes in here if you do barrels, but I prefer to just do this so it's sealed in a little better. And then this is my electric furnace pad that we're gonna go ahead and get our 6 early game e-furnaces up. Perfect. Now placing a garage door here to seal this guy off. If you have shotgun traps, this is a very, very good stop or a good spot for them. 2 like that will hold our jump down very nicely, just to ensure no funny business. And then making sure to add a double door and garage doors throughout. And then another shotgun trap down here, like this. Make sure this garage door roller is facing this way, as it will make the walk up these stairs easier if you are using these stairs. Now I'll continue adding my deployables down here. Just gonna do my triple furnace. The rest of the bags for the team. And now we'll make a little loot room below here. And the reason I like these stairs is it seems really weird, but I'm able to fit 4 boxes down here with really easy access. At least I feel. Doing it like this, as I can stand the staircase and access any one of these boxes really easily. And to me, that's just beautiful. And now here comes the personal preference. We can put locker here. You could also put e-furnaces in this spot, maybe an early game battery, like a medium battery. But personally, I'll throw a furnace like this and call it a day. And place another G door in here. As for this TC room, if you are using these 2 front barrels, only place 1 large box and make sure to use a barrel on the second guy instead of another large box, as otherwise the TC will be hard to reach. This way, it's still easy to reach. If you put a large box here, it's gonna be difficult. Shotgun trap holds this beautifully. And we'll continue on with the base. Now this 3rd floor is going to be our makeshift tier 3 crafting area just kind of split up loot, so that way your loot is on first floor, third floor, and all your kits are split throughout the base. So this is also going to act as our battery floor, so I'm going to sheet metal this instantly. Especially if you're cooking with those e-furnaces down below, you should be good on that regard. And be aware, or notice rather, that I'm not using symmetry yet, as I don't think it's necessary. We'll use it for the shell, as that's all just a big symmetrical piece. But for now, continue by sealing in this entire floor. Boom, boom, boom. And obviously this will be a jump up, but for now, let's focus on this area. 2 double doors to our large battery. And now I like to use this room for lockers on these guys. We could also turn them into loot rooms if you'd like. This only needs to be stone. And yeah, I'm upgrading that a weird way, but I prefer not going back to keep switching my build grades around. So that'll work. The placement of this one can be a little funky if that window is placed, but you should be able to get it. It's pretty easy. Now this area here is going to turn to honeycomb. It only needs to be stone, but let's make sure to add a shelf in here on either side. Well, I'm stealing this guy in and doing a vending machine. And I don't have one in my inventory. Of course, I am trolling today. And same thing here. You can do different style loot rooms than these simple triangle, 4 boxes if you have barrels and don't want them to be as easily accessible and rather not windowed off is what I'm getting at here. But I prefer doing it like this, as it turns every piece into honeycomb. Every triangle, everything. And that's what I like. And we will now grab a tier 3. And I like to shove it up in this corner. And of course there's tons of room for beds here, bags, whatever you have or want. And we'll do our little stuff like this. Good amount of spawns. First and third floor spawns are always good. Now removing this double door will make the next jump in, or jump up rather. This doesn't have to be any grade. It doesn't really matter what this is. Excuse me. This could be stone. This is now our window floor. You can seal that guy off there. Or rather, our window floor to our shoot floor. So we're gonna put single doors on either side, 2 windows, and seal this entire guy in. I'll use just glass windows in these sections. And if you have armored single doors, these are by far the best spot and most useful spot for them. We'll just throw some beds up here. And I like to leave this a double door. This is a great spot for a double armored door, but switch to a G door if you don't have it. Everyone's wipe's a little different. And I'll just throw some boxes up there for kit storage or whatever you want. Alright, now coming outside, this is what we're looking at. This is technically the entire core of the main base, these 4 floors. Everything after that, this is all battlements and stuff of the sort. So this is, call it stage 2 of the build, as stage 1 is just call it the main core base. So let's continue. Now I'm gonna enable symmetry here and go ahead with upgrades. At the earliest convenience you have, obviously you're gonna want to sheet metal everything here, leaving us with a core like this. And what I'll also do is come on inside, go into our core, and upgrade stuff to armor that matters. It's gonna be these 3 roofs, wall, that's, doesn't matter, wall. This is the bare minimum that I'd suggest. I'm gonna do a little funny way of upgrading this. Upgrading that foundation, you'll have to pick up a box. 2 HQM. This is good. If you do have a lot more HQM, you can obviously continue through and do the rest of these walls. But to be more efficient, the technical tiles you want to upgrade are those 2. And then coming up here, and get this one. Also, before I forget, because I accidentally did it, gotta place some boxes in this little vault room. And then on these jump ups, I usually throw a mixing table. A locker. I placed that one pretty far away from the wall there, but there we go. That one was much better. All right, there we go. Inner core main base is good. Alrighty. Now to start doing our shell. It's pretty simple and kind of self-explanatory, but this is an old bobcat shell, I believe was the main name of it. And it's really simple. So from all these triangles, you're gonna go 1, 2 squares out, break that original square, place a triangle going back towards base, and I'll do this out of twig so I don't weird you out here. Put a square on either side of these guys, and then grab 2 triangles, place them like that. This shell will now seal into a 4x4 at the top, instead of the traditional H-June circle base on top. So yeah, pretty cool. And then we'll, of course, go ahead and start building it. We'll start off by making our Patricos on the corners, making sure to upgrade these to a Brutalist skin to give us this peak here. And then these 2 embrasures, you're gonna wanna rotate like this. Coming outside now, I'm also gonna place these additional triangles that are gonna give us 1 floor frame, 2 floor frames, and then these could be any grade, but we'll do them out of stone to create these more head glitch peaks. You see here, this angle is very much so tightened up because of this triangle here, and then obviously our head is protected due to that square. Very nice peaks. And now we'll make our entrances. It'll just be a square and a window. These 2 can be walls, seal these guys in. And now, if you have a big team, maybe you don't do a single door airlock, but if you are doing it without compound, do the single door airlock. Just kind of good to not get annoyed or deeped on as easily, may I say. And then it'll throw 2 single doors in there, G-door at the end of the path. And then these will get obviously glass windows. This is a bedroom. You can G-door this off if you have infinite gears, but if you don't, use a double door. I'll place a locker here along with a bed on each of these. So you get 4 bedrooms on this bottom level. Now be aware right now, your shell is technically not connected to main base. And the reason for that is, well, nothing's actually touching if you kind of look at this here. Nothing's actually connected. So to make an easy solution out of that, all we're gonna do is expand the crib. You're gonna place this frame here. It doesn't have to be on all sides, but I suggest doing it on at least 2 of them. This ladder hatch frame, and then placing this wall like this. And these walls like this to guarantee the connection. Now, 100%, even if you just did this on 1 of the 4 sides, your shell is not decaying and you are good. Please do this. Don't let your shell decay. Don't waste all those materials. Okay. Now, continuing on through here, we're gonna build this guy. 2 high, I believe. Always gotta look at, I'll call it my notes, as I don't like messing this up. Yep, 2 high, and then 2 high out of stone. Now I'm doing this out of stone for aesthetics actually, but in reality, you should be sheet metaling this little stone part. Now to here. Now, once the shell is to this height, I'll place these 3 triangles, square here, 2 windows, and then half walls around these sections. And I will back up and give you a look at what this looks like. Okay. I'll actually come outside now and add double door frames, half walls, double door frames to get the really good head glitch peaks for these sections. And I'll fully seal these guys in. And you want to make sure you use both these half walls, as the stability is always nice and needed for the higher shooting floor on the next level. You can also come in here and add these embrasures, as these peaks are starting to become really nasty even for early game defense, especially once this level is sealed in. I should also mention, I'm going to switch to half symmetry because I'm not putting 4 turrets in either section. 2 turrets here, and then on the opposite side, so not right below, but down here, I like to put my turrets 2 each, kind of there. 2 down, 2 on that side, so there's those are open, and there. They're just offset, either or side. Okay. And I'll switch back to full symmetry. And continue building. Now we'll seal this guy in on all sides. Excuse me. And then add a single door and a window on all sides, and seal in the roof. Any embrasures, and some early game single doors. Technically at this point, your shell is sealed in, but obviously it is not very sturdy or strong or defendable because it is just one single door to roof on any given side. But of course, we're going to fix that by adding windows, double door, and sealing the guy off. Add embrasures like this, which will be the peaks onto our door peaks, or retakes onto shooting floor rather, let me be more precise. And then early game, if you want, you could double door this off, but eventually it's going to turn into a G door, so that's what I'm going to do here. Excuse me. Now, off of those bottom peaks, we're going to build 2 high with double door frames. And now we're going to seal this section in with half walls. I'm going to open this G door so we can kind of get a better idea of what we're looking at. Like this. And then we're going to come down here and we're going to build some stability, 3 high. I'd rather have it be too stable rather than not stable enough. And then off of this square to the right, we're going to place a triangle. And off of here, we're going to place a triangle. Then come over to here, triangle, triangle, and this is what we're looking at. These are our, call it basic door peaks, as a double up on every angle that we already have. I'll switch to stone here, as aesthetically, I think it's more pleasing. And then we do single doors, so where they swing out to the right on every side, to block people getting in as easy. And then adding double door frames here and here, and then here, for stability of what's going above. Now I'll switch back to sheet metal and just kind of seal this guy in with sheet metal on top on every side. Now obviously there's a lot still to be left in the middle here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to 2-sided symmetry, as now this is where I like to do 2 different kinds here on roof. I will now take this guy, I'm going to switch to stone here because now it doesn't need to be sheet metal. And this one will be a bedroom. Throw glass windows. I'll throw a bed. And honestly, for bedrooms like this, by the way, as of recently, I prefer doing like 2 or 3 barrels as I get more loot storage than a singular locker and like a few small boxes. Sure, it switches on faster, but I've found that the locker sound, like when you put on a locker kit, it makes a sound. And I don't like that because it kind of gives away if I'm ever spawning or like standing up from my bed, it gives an audio cue to where I am, and I don't really like that. So I've been finding myself doing boxes more often than not now. Also, place your embrasures around the entire crib. Whew, that was a bad voice crack. Oh man. And now here we'll make our exits onto roof. Doing it like so will actually create an airlock. Be it a basic one, but an airlock is an airlock going out to roof. Now, what you'll do is pick 2 sides that are going to be your kind of higher peak ups, and then 2 sides that are going to be peaks / bedrooms. If you have a hill, let's say in this direction, I suggest doing these peak ups like this here. I'll sheet metal the interior one for the looks. And then this side, just do triple window, followed with a ramp on this guy, and sheet metal it. Okay. Now going above here, we're gonna make one sheet metal frame. These can be stone. This will be a place off for our turret pods on roof. And yeah, I know it is maybe a little expensive for what is a turret pod on roof, but I really like the height of these guys, so I think it was worth it spending the little extra half wall cost for these sections up here. And then placing these turrets here. As you can tell, these turrets have a really good line of sight up to everything on the roof and whatnot, where it's really just good. And then we'll seal these guys in with half walls. And I suggest, if you don't want to spend the extra cost on these guys early game, taking one of these guys, and I'll usually sheet metal them, and throwing turrets in there just as a double up to make sure you're good. Okay? And obviously, you have more than enough room for an attack helicopter, scrap helicopter, or whatever you want on this roof. It kind of is like the perfect size for any of the things you'd want. So that is perfect. And of course, you can place your windmills off of these guys, but don't let me forget, you can turn these into don't raid me towers, windowing them in and putting like a kit up here if you want to be extra fancy. Otherwise, if you don't want your windmills up there, you could always place them off of these guys like one level higher, like this, like that. Obviously it's not going to place because that windmill's in the way, but you get the concept. Alrighty, that is, excuse me, basically everything for the main base. The only things left to do right now on the main base are pretty simple. It's going to be me placing some shotgun traps and some metal barricades. So let's do that before we will add the optional compound. Coming down to these guys, we're going to add these temporary twig triangles and stand on them to be able to place metal barricades like this. Now, of course, the game doesn't like me today, but we're gonna try to place it as far and back to that left wall as possible. And same concept here, as far and back to that right wall as possible. On every side. And those are just temporary triangles. Don't expect them to stay that great. We're gonna break them instantly afterwards. Okay, and then one here as well. What this is doing is just kind of adding an extra barrier for people to be, if they're trying to like run around on your peaks right below and be weird. It's just something extra to annoy the people. And I like that. Now coming into the interior. Excuse me. Ugh. Got allergies today. I really don't like it. 2 sets of shotgun traps like this, one facing either way. Will hold these sections really well. And you can obviously add more like these, but I usually will place beds here. I will also place, because I technically forgot, but not really. We'll place beds here to make use of those peaks a little better. Okay. Turn off symmetry just temporarily. I'm trying to think of my favorite spots for shotgun traps, but there's a lot of good ones, but there's a lot of funny ones as well, like there. This one's very nice, believe it or not. We'll go down to our inner peaks. Now obviously you have a ton of space down here for deployables or whatever you'd want to put down here. I usually just find myself throwing some boxes. But another thing that is super useful is placing shotgun traps in different orientations, whether it's like that, straight down off of these guys to fight this angle. These corners also make great use of them, like that. And then also, a surprisingly good one is something like that to force you into it like that. Get creative with them and they'll be really good. Obviously, the funnier angle is the better, in my opinion. Something to catch the raiders off guard. Alrighty. Now let's go ahead and do the compound. Now obviously there are multiple ways to do a compound for the space. You could do something extremely basic, so that's kind of what I'm going to be teaching here, as I had basically a billion questions last time on how to add a compound to the space design. So I figured it'd probably be smart to actually just give you guys one as an addition to the video, but not really a part of it. Basically what we're going to be doing here off these single doors is placing a triangle, a second triangle, and then 2 squares. What this is doing is giving me a little bit of an offset, how do I describe this? An offset way of doing the compound to kind of mess with the rares as much as possible. And it's basic and cheap. Now I'll place 2 triangles, a square, and 2 more triangles. And that is my gatehouse. You can obviously destroy this triangle. This only ever needs to be stone. And then this can be sheet metal, stone, stone, sheet metal. Now I don't have 4-sided symmetry on because I'm silly. Actually, I don't have symmetry on at all as I'm silly. So what I'm gonna do is quickly rebuild it because it is a little confusing. Toggle, half, here we go. Triangle, triangle, square, square, break all that, stone, like that. Now I'll make the actual external off of it, which is a triangle, 3 squares for our disconnectable. And make this your basic disconnectable. Now obviously if you want to make these bunkers, I do highly suggest it, as this base does not have any bunkers on it, so it does need the raid cost. I don't know why we're getting that little placement there, but come to rest. There we go. There we go. Yeah. These are very tightly placed externals, so they might be a little hard to place there. Just wiggle it back and forth a little bit and you'll get it. G door, single door. These can technically be metal. Metal, metal, metal. You obviously want these to be metal so that they are in a rocket to disconnect. Like that. Boom. Now I'll come in here and everything else can be stone. You can make some basic Patricos into your compound. One for window. 2 double doors. I like to make these sheet and placing those interior embrasures along with all the necessary doors. Now, technically, I did this backwards, where this should be the double door out, as that way it creates an airlock. So apologies on my end for that. And I will usually do a G door here. Just anything for any minimal additional cost is kind of my motto nowadays. So this gives us a great from the gatehouses, 360 of compounds with peaks onto any one of the compound walls that does get breached or exposed, and doubles up on all those angles, which is beautiful. Now to place the actual compound, it is going to be 3 walls. You're basically going to stand on one of these foundations and line up your right side of your screen with that end, and just place it. Just aim it towards what I'd call the middle. And it should be pretty good. Now obviously, mine's not perfect here, so I can show that it can be done better. There we go. Just like that. Excuse me. Now there are options on how you might want to be able to do this compound. I'm gonna go ahead and place these barricades here though. Any options? I do like a good few options nowadays. I did place this technically backwards from my usual thinking, but it's gonna work perfectly. There's a few options on what you guys can do to this compound, whether you want furnaces or what. If you place a triangle off of these guys, it makes a pretty good, as you can see here, I'm gonna just give you examples, prep for what could be a mini China wall. As you can see here, you could China wall that off pretty easily. Heck, you could make another triangle here and throw an auto turret in here, watching like this. That'd be pretty cool. That is an option. I believe it is a little difficult. I'm gonna leave those triangles there temporarily, but you should be able to, if you placed it perfectly, which I didn't do it this time. It is possible to get large furnaces here. However, I didn't do it perfectly, and thus didn't really work. But the concept still exists. So you can either A, leave it completely open. B, you could expand it a little more and do a wider compound. Apologies for not doing it in this exact example of it, as this one is just a dead basic one. Or you could also have the option of turning it into a mini channel wall section like this. It's super easy to do it this way too, which is kind of nice. So yeah. Alrighty. Oh, and final point, if you're not doing your turrets in those sections over there, if you do decide to do those, which is, I think, a very good way to do it, I'm not gonna lie. Heck, just by triangling half along it like this, and throwing like a metal barricade up here, that, with a little auto turret. That is an option that I think is really cool. I think you're actually able to remove those as well. Heck, you could do anything like that too. You could be really weird with it, you know? If you're not doing those, do basic auto turrets just by placing them there. These are obviously more exposed. I do suggest doing those. So yeah, without any further ado, guys, that about does it for the entirety of the base build. If you guys do enjoy this exact base, I know it has been a long time coming, let me know. If you would like an actual more expanded version of this base, because this one doesn't have wide gaps, a true compound, we'll call it, as this one's meant to be basic, let me know, and I could actually make, or rather post, that better, or rather larger version of this base design. That one also has an open core above our inner peaks. So that's kind of cool. But without further ado, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. My name is Nine, and I will see you next time.